everybody, Amer here again with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm reviewing Season 2, Episode 13, called The Astrologer. So we start out with Jim cruising over to a parking lot attendant booth for instructions, and the mission is to protect a fellow named Nikolai Curzon. He's a resistance official from Veska, and the IMF must also prevent a critical microfilm from reaching that country. We have the regular team for this one, and we learn that Rollin has been mastering the Veskian Chancellor's voice, that they have only small windows of opportunity to move around the planes going towards Veska, and we see a specially prepared dummy of Curzon. We then move to Paris, where Deputy Chancellor Grigov is getting ready to board his plane back to his country, lamenting that his political enemy, Colonel Stahl, was able to locate Curzon and stands to gain a lot of favor with the Chancellor. Barney taps into the airport's phone system, while reporters Jim and Rollin try to get some words from famed astrologer Cinnamon, who is coming off a plane and heads into the terminal. The Deputy Chancellor is surprised when Cinnamon knows exactly who he is, and she tells him that she must speak to the Chancellor because she can feel that he's in imminent danger. Grigov is a skeptic, but Jim's pushiness causes him to at least hear Cinnamon out. She tells Grigov that she sees a violent death by water at 2 p.m., the time the Chancellor takes his daily swim. Just at that point, the real Chancellor calls for Grigov, to the surprise of the IMF. They manage to get Rollin connected to him, who relays the information. The Chancellor has a pool checked, and some imaginary poor mook named Carl loses his life, as it turns out that it was indeed electrified. The Chancellor tells Grigov to get Curzon back for questioning and bring Cinnamon with him. Grigov's assistant Trubner checks out Cinnamon's large steamer trunks, which are then picked up by Skycap Willie, who replaces them with two identical ones containing Barney and Rollin, and loads them on the plane. The plane takes off, and Barney and Rollin spring into action while all the passengers are seated, and they discover that no air is getting into the cargo hold. Barney quickly drills into the space above to get oxygen in before they black out. They manage to carve out a path to the conference area on the plane, and Barney installs some wires on the transmission equipment in the room. Cinnamon reads Grigov's horoscope and tells him that he has a Scorpio enemy who is known to him, and that the plane descends to pick up Stahl and the sedated Curzon, who is brought in on a gurney. Trubner is assigned to stay with Curzon as Grigov gets Stahl to put the microfilm in the plane's safe, as the Chancellor has given orders as such. He wants to be the only one who sees the actual microfilm. Stahl is surprised to see Cinnamon, and Grigov explains what happened in Paris. Stahl says he just spoke to the Chancellor, who fell and has been in bed all day, so he's not buying the story. Grigov and Stahl go to the conference room to call the Chancellor, and the call is of course directed to Rollin, who confirms Grigov's story to a frustrated Stahl. At the next opportunity, Rollin cracks a safe and removes the microfilm and replaces it with one the IMF has created. The microfilm is a list of names of traitors loyal to Curzon's cause. Stahl's horoscope sign turns out to be Scorpio, worrying Grigov, as Cinnamon tells him that Stahl may have a plan related to a secret document. At this, Grigov goes to check the microfilm and finds his name as well as Trubner's on the list, as Cinnamon warns Stahl that strange things are happening, so he also goes to the conference room, and he and Grigov both accuse each other of plotting against them. Stahl grabs a microfilm and gets his security officer to put Grigov and Trubner under arrest. Grigov asks Cinnamon to tell the Chancellor that it is all a mistake, as Stahl again calls Chancellor Rollin, who says he's going to his cottage and wants Cinnamon brought there, putting Stahl in charge for now. Barney and Rollin put the Curzon dummy in his room and take the real Curzon into the cargo hold. Meanwhile, Cinnamon praises Stahl for his cleverness to keep him occupied, until an alarm goes off and the dummy Curzon is activated, opening an emergency exit and falling out of the plane. Curzon is put into one trunk, Barney in the other, and Rollin dons an airport worker's uniform to get them out. Officer Jim arrives in a car to retrieve Cinnamon, and Officer Willie gets the baggage out of the trunk as Stahl says goodbye to Cinnamon, and the plane heads back to the capital. Curzon is okay, and Jim burns the microfilm. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of a C+. There's some good in this one. There's some very, very neat work by the IMF when they play the two antagonists Stahl and Grigov kind of off each other, and it is a fairly elaborate plan. I like the way it kind of plays out in terms of the action that happens. It seems like it's a good example of the kind of plot that I like, where the IMF starts with kind of the end in mind, and then they kind of work backwards as to how they get there. So that was good. Something that's not so good, I don't know what it is about David Hurst as Grigov. He's a good actor. There's something just a little bit off in this and in one or two other episodes that he appears in later that I don't know. I just don't get a great vibe from him in this one. Maybe it's just me. Not so good as Steve Einert as Alex Stahl gets so little screen time. That's a crime, in my opinion, because that man is fantastic, and absolutely 100% belongs on the show. So I wish there had been a little bit more of him. Other things that are kind of strange. I don't know whether I want to call them really kind of bad, but they're certainly not good. Jim does almost nothing in this episode. Even Willie gets to do more than Jim here, and I'm really not sure why that is. He's almost like barely even part of the plot, and that is really kind of a downer. I didn't notice it at first, but on rewatch it was pretty glaring about Peter Graves doing very little here. Overall, the reason I don't give this one a very, very good grade is because the whole episode to me is very, very kind of business-like. It's almost like a spy story that you would read in a novel or whatever, where you've got a set of good guys and you've got a set of quote-unquote bad guys. And, the good guys go up and try and fool the bad guys and vice versa. And there's really kind of no finesse, I guess you would say. I don't know if that's quite kind of the right word, but it just almost seems kind of like clockwork. Like, okay, we're American agents, and these guys are foreign agents or whatever, or foreign diplomats or officials, and it just kind of seems like a day at the office. Let's get the better hand on these guys. The IMF is just kind of doing their jobs against those other officials who are just trying to do their jobs. Just something seems kind of ordinary about it. That's at least the vibe that I get. So that's my review for this episode. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. This was a shorter review, I think, than most of them were, because it's just not quite as much here. Please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. And please leave your comments below if you disagree, if you thought this was a really good episode. Let me know why. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.